Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. Well, the Packers just had their most dominant win of the season. They won by 17 points. The Packers put together maybe their first four-quarter performance on offense, defense, and special teams. The Green Bay Packers beat a division rival and moved to 2-0 in the division, as well as 7 wins, moving now to 7-3-1. Packers fans got every single thing that they've ever wanted. Blowout win, better in the division, right? That's all field goal tip away, remember, from being winless in the division. 2-0 right now. And how's everybody doing? Now, I don't really know, but I can just tell you right now that I am ready to lose my freaking mind at the fact that everybody seems upset. I listened to the press conference, and all the media, it sounded like, first of all, it sounded like we lost. It sounded like we were at a funeral, and it was just sort of this weird thing of like, oh, Matt, like, what are you going to do? Like, How are you going to throw more? And when are you going to, like, what are you talking about? Packers fans got everything they wanted, and they're not happy because they didn't get it the way that they wanted, which I find hilarious, by the way, because Packer fans have been very consistent. Stop running the ball, aside from some people who are saying we need to run more. I don't know. Stop running. We have to pass. Stop running. We have to pass. The Green Bay Packers came into this game saying, by the way, for a lot of reasons, this was the game plan coming in, partially because you have an injured quarterback that you're trying to take the load off of. But they came in doing the exact opposite of what Packer fans have been saying needs to happen to make this work better, and we had our best game of the season. We played the game, they even said early, like, you shouldn't play this way. This is playing into the Vikings' hands. It didn't. It played into ours. We took away their possessions and their ability to score. We slowed down the pace, we ground down the game, and we ground the Vikings into a fine powder. It was a dominant physical performance, something we haven't seen from this team in a very long time. And everybody's mad for some arbitrary thing about, yeah, but I wish you threw more. And hilariously, rather than saying, wow, the team did exactly the opposite of what I said should happen, and they beat the living crap out of this team, maybe I'm wrong. Instead, they're saying you shouldn't have done that. Are you serious right now? So let me ask you a very serious question. If you had the ability right now to go back and change it, would you change it? If you had the ability to go back and start passing more throughout the game, would you do it? Because I can tell you right now, if your answer to that question is yes, you're kind of stupid. Why would you risk losing the game? We won the game by 17. You would risk losing the game to maybe put another, 7 points on the board, or 4 if you turn a field goal into a touchdown? Because you want to push it to 30? Because maybe we can make it like 30-6? You would risk the entire game. No, the answer is no. The answer is no. Nobody would and nobody should. So what are you complaining about? You wouldn't change it because it turned out so great. And again, this is that stupid thing where it's like, well, if we just do what I said, then it only would have been better. Oh, right, so there wouldn't have been incomplete passes that put us into longer situations that we couldn't have converted on the ground like we did pretty much all day, and then end up going 3 and out or punting as opposed to continuing to drive down the field and get points, which then gives them the ball and potentially gives them more points and makes it a tighter game. Right? It's only going to be good if we just do whatever you want all the time. It's never going to be bad. There's not going to be any interceptions. There's not going to be sacks. There's not going to be any fumbles off of those sacks. There's not going to be incompletions that put us in unfortunate, second and long situations. No, it's only good. It's just going to be great all the time. They had a plan. They executed it to perfection, and we beat the living crap out of the Vikings. And you want to sit here and talk about it was a bad game plan? What are you talking about? They ran the plan, and we beat them by 17. The Bears barely beat the Steelers without Rodgers by 4. The Lions barely beat the Giants in overtime by 7. The Seahawks beat the Tennessee Titans by 6. Buffalo lost to Houston. Baltimore beat the Jets by 13. That's less than 17 if you weren't aware. New England beat Cincinnati by 6. We're talking like the worst defense in football. Beat them by 6. This was a bunch of good teams going up against a bunch of bad teams. And only the Packers beat teams by 17 or more, at least so far. Afternoon games are just going right now for me. But you're not happy because they didn't do what you wanted. And all I can think to myself is, thank God they didn't do what you wanted. Maybe stop screaming at Matt LaFleur about what you want, because apparently what you want is not very smart. Because when they did, they could not have executed a performance that is less of what you wanted ever. There's never been a performance that has been more run-heavy and conservative in the history of football, going back through the 20s, okay? Never. And it was our best performance of the season. I think they should listen to the fans less. I think maybe we should never pass the ball ever again. Maybe we should try that. And as soon as Packer fans start liking that plan and saying, you know what, maybe we should do this, then we should just pass all the time. We should do always the exact opposite of what fans say that we should do, because so far it's working amazingly. Thank you, Matt LaFleur, for saying, let's do the opposite of what the fans say. Because that plan in and of itself is the greatest thing that I think Matt LaFleur has done since he's been the head coach. Which I'm sure that's what it was, too. He just said, I don't really have a plan other than I'm going to go on social media, find out what they want, and do the opposite. And we beat the living dog crap out of the Vikings. And again, hilariously, people with no ability to think things through are going, yeah, I think he still should have done it my way, though. Yeah, I don't agree that he did it his way. I think he should have done it my way. Amazing. Absolutely incredible. As I was combing through some of the articles to kind of pull some stats and whatnot, found an article from Tyler Brook. Matt LaFleur is addicted to running the football. Now, right off the bat, I don't know exactly what the article is about in terms of being positive or negative, but generally, addiction is not a good thing. So I have to assume that this is a very unhappy person with the way that we executed this dominant win. Now, I found this article somewhat hilarious because right away after the first sentence, it says, in their first stress-free win since week 2, the Packers ran 65 offensive plays in a 23-6 win over the Minnesota Vikings. Of those plays, 42 of them were rushing attempts, or 64.6% of their offensive play calls, and that's despite the usual starting running back in Josh Jacobs being inactive as he recovers from a knee contusion. Are we even hearing the first part of this? In their first stress-free win since week 2. I'm sorry. Is that not a good thing? Are we just assuming that running had nothing to do with the fact that it was stress-free? Do we think it was despite that? Are we that dense that we think we could have done literally whatever we wanted, it doesn't matter, and it would have been a stress-free game? And it just would have been nicer if we were passing more instead of... What are we talking about? Anyways, back to the article. Just to be clear, first stress-free win. First stress-free. Stress-free win. Went very well. Best game of the season. No question. And then he says they ran a bunch. Yeah. Okay, so I'm putting those two things together, and what does that tell me? They ran a ton, and that's awesome because it was their first stress-free game. Right? That makes sense. He says it's not like the Vikings are a bottom-tier rush defense either. 12th in DVOA against the run, according to FTN Fantasy. However, LaFleur seemed determined to keep establishing the run, maintaining possession and chewing the clock while his defense kept taking advantage of an ill-equipped quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. All right, cool. Sounds good. Haven't heard anything bad yet. There are completely valid reasons for running the ball so much, most notably to preserve Jordan Love prior to a short week before playing the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving, and also he's hurt. Prior to the game, it was revealed that Jordan Love is dealing with an AC joint sprain in his non-throwing shoulder and was dealing with significant discomfort. I'm sorry, it's weird that you started off by saying there are completely valid reasons. I thought you were giving valid reasons to run the ball. I thought you were explaining that this was a good thing. That's what I was hearing, right? I mean, the Vikings are good at this, but you ran it down their throat, ground down their defense, maintained possession, chewed up the clock, and it was our first stress-free win. And then the next line is, but there's also reasons to do it. I thought we were already doing that, but okay. While Love was efficient on the day, completing 14 of 21 passes for 139 yards, it was clear on the broadcast that the shoulder was bothering him. Very true. The Packers quarterback was even having to adjust how he's handing the ball off. It's not like the run game was completely ineffective either. Clearly. Emmanuel Wilson had a career game, carrying the ball 28 times for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns in a career game for the former UDFA. Some of the runs showed some solid vision, while others showed his ability to shake off poor tackle attempts to carry defenders for extra yards. I noticed that too. It was pretty great. I thought he did a great job. He showed physicality. He showed some elusiveness. It was a great job on a great day with a great win. However, some of Green Bay's shortcomings in the run game, as well as tendencies, continued to show up. Oh boy, here we go. The Packers ran the ball 22 times on first downs compared to just 7 pass attempts. Okay. The Packers also... Wait. You can't say also. You haven't said anything yet. They ran the ball 22 times on first downs compared to 7 pass attempts. I don't understand. That's not a shortcoming. I mean, you can call it a tendency, but the entire point of this game is that we ran it an absurd amount, so it's not really a tendency. This is an anomaly. Also, again, this all sounds like it was a good thing. So I don't know where this however, some of the inefficiencies thing is coming from. The shortcomings. So you haven't said anything yet. You just said we did it a lot. Okay, well, we know. That's the whole point of this whole article, right? That we ran the ball a lot. But what are the shortcomings? The Packers also remain quite predictable on 3rd and short, opting to consistently run the ball. Oh, okay. So the shortcomings are we ran the ball on first down and we ran the ball on 3rd down in an article about how we ran the ball all the time. I'm sorry, that doesn't sound like a shortcoming. Again, all I've heard is we ran the ball, we ran it a lot, we ran it all the time, we did it successfully and beat the crap out of the Vikings. Yeah, but we ran it a lot on first down and 3rd down. Yeah, I know. I get that. I don't know what am I not hearing that I'm supposed to be hearing here? At the very least, the Packers had more success than usual on those situations. Of 7 instances on the Packers... Yeah, that's the freaking point! Of 7 instances of the Packers running on 3rd and 3 or shorter, they converted on 4 of those attempts. But the unsuccessful attempts all came in the second half, with some ugly attempts that led to the Packers settling for field goals instead of touchdowns. By the way, this is when the game was put away. Maybe I'm the only one. I was literally sitting there saying, just run the ball and kick the field goal. Run the ball and kick the field goal. My son had to remind me, they could get a first down here. I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, a first down would be great, too. Run the ball and kick a field goal. That's what I wanted them to do. Bro, we're just burying them right now. It doesn't matter. The game is basically over. Any points will just completely bury this team. It's a chip shot field goal from here. Why would we do anything other than run the ball, burn some more clock, and take the extra 3 points? This isn't a close game. You're actually going to throw a fit about that? Why? Because, all gas, no break. Whatever happened to that? I want to score 40. I don't give a damn what you want. This is about being smart. This isn't freaking Madden. Yes, those call them ugly attempts. It wasn't an ugly attempt. It was a run attempt when they knew we were going to run. And you usually don't convert those. But you also don't give a damn because you're going to kick a field goal and bury this team because it's over. Our win percentage drops 0% if we don't convert this and end up kicking a field goal. But Jim Bob Steve 472 486 _751, he wants to throw it all over the yard with the game put away. Great, dude. Congratulations. Yes, let's discuss how we should handle blowout losses at the end. Should we be more aggressive and try to run up the score? Or should we just win the freaking game and minimize damage? That's what we should throw a fit about. Rather than celebrating a massive loss, we should throw a temper tantrum about the fact that we ran the ball, burned the clock, got 3 more points, and called it a day. That's what we need to throw a fit about. I mean, again, this is the weird thing, and it was the same with the questions being asked to LaFleur. Nothing bad happened, but everything was said with a negative tone to it. There was not a single bad thing written in this article, which for some reason tries to make it seem like running the ball all the time was a bad thing, while blatantly admitting that it was a good thing. I don't understand. It'll be interesting to see what lessons LaFleur takes away from this game. Well, what's funny is that the actual lesson is that running the ball worked. And what fans want the lesson to be is you shouldn't do that anymore. That's not going to be the lesson when it worked. I'm so sorry to tell you that. Will he realize that he is over-reliant on the run on first down and short yardage situations? No. Why would this game prove that to him? Do you realize we won the game? Do you realize we ran the ball successfully for 4 quarters? Because I don't think anyone noticed. They just see runs and get mad. I don't understand. Will he adjust once Love's shoulder is finally healed? Yes. Because even Matt LaFleur doesn't run the ball 65% of the time. And you don't always get to play the Vikings every time. This was a very specific instance against a very specific opponent where he came up with a very specific game plan that turned out to be the exact right game plan, as evidenced by the freaking score. Or will he continue to establish the run, come hell or high water, regardless of the results? The results? He literally thinks we lost this game. Regardless of the results. What do you mean, regardless of the results? Are you being serious right now? Regardless of the results? What does that mean? What does that mean? Again, there is an implicit assumption that the running was a failure and a bad decision. And not one time has that been demonstrated in this article. I'm not trying to be too harsh on Mr. Tyler Brook, who does a lot of good work, but this is emblematic. I'm on the outside of this issue because I've done some just light digging around the fan base. Everybody in Green Bay Packers media that I've seen, whether it's the podcasty crew or the actual national people or whatever, it's the same thing. This is not good enough. You can't do that. You can't. What are you talking about? And again, there's just this assumption that it was a bad thing, and we're going to talk to Matt LaFleur like, well, did you learn your lesson? I hope you learned your lesson. Or are you just going to keep doing this regardless of the results? No, I think maybe I'll keep doing it because of the results. This is going to be a rough one. I guess I'm glad it's a short week, because I think this is going to be a rough one, man. Again, 2-0 in the division. We beat a division rival. Biggest win of the season. First 4-quarter performance from offense, defense, and special teams of the entire season. The largest win of the season, but also the largest win of the day, at least, for the early game slot. And this is a week when it was specifically matchups of the best teams against the worst teams. And we ended up with the highest score in that group. And you can say, yeah, it's because of the defense. Bull crap, it's because of the defense. Again, first of all, part of the low score, and this, again, is where people just don't understand things. Part of the low score is because of what we did on offense. Our low score and their low score. You can start passing the ball all over the yard if you want, but not only does our score maybe go up, it also may go down, depending on how good of a job we do. And by the way, our ability to run the ball probably is going to be worse if we pass more. But again, we don't want to acknowledge that. We just want to pretend everything stays exactly the same, but just gets better based on the things that I say. No, the running probably gets worse because we're not establishing the run. We're not wearing down their team. And because the game pace is going to be faster, because the drives are going to be shorter, people get more possessions. And then when you multiply the scoring per possession across more possessions, both teams score more, not just the Packers. I am just at a complete and total loss. And maybe it is a smaller group than I think, but it honestly started because if I'm not mistaken, I heard boos in the crowd. And maybe I misheard that. But every single person, if anybody in the crowd was booing in this game, they should be banned from Lambeau Field and never allowed back. 17-point win over a division rival, and you're booing because it's too boring for you? Yeah, you should be banned from the stadium forever. You, your family, your children, everybody, banished. You show up, you're not allowed in the city of Green Bay, or Ashwaubenon for that matter. Just stay out of that entire region. If you live there, you got to move. Again, I probably misheard that. I hope, I genuinely hope I misheard that, because that would be the most pathetic thing I've heard a fan base do ever. I mean, we've seen like Bears fans and stuff boo after like 1 3 and out because their season's in the freaking crapper, and they're like, oh, here we go again. And so it's like, bro, it's one drive, you're already booing, but booing in a 17-point win because they're running too much? Yeah, I better have misheard that. But then again, I come on here and I'm like, man, I hope that they're not all whining about the running, and it's just all I'm seeing. And then I listen to the press conference, and it's like that tone of like, did you learn your lesson now? Like, oh, ugh. Are we just a pure style points fan base? Like, we're the opposite of the just win baby crowd? Like, hey, I got a plan, man. It's a guarantee we will dominate this team by 17. But it's going to be a slow pace, run the ball, grind it out football game. You good with that? No. I want to pass it all over the yard, man. You're holding back Jordan. Oh, maybe you didn't hear me. I said we would win by 17. You can't hold back Jordan, man. You're just handicapping him. You're being too conservative. Okay? So you don't want to win by 17 then. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I have no earthly idea what to say. Other than this was probably my favorite Sunday. I wasn't on social media, so I didn't get miserable until after the game. It was the most exciting Sunday. It was the most fun Sunday. It was the most cheering I've done all year. The other games were very exciting. I was really upset at how they ended, but that Chicago Bears-Steelers game was exciting and down to the wire. The Lions-Giants game was exciting and down to the wire. Chiefs-Colts game, as a non-Chiefs fan, again, didn't go the way I wanted, but that was an exciting game. Pretty much all of them. I mean, Tennessee-Seattle ended up kind of coming down to the wire a little bit. New England-Cincinnati. I wish literally any of these games would have gone a different way. I think everybody that I wanted to win lost, not from a betting standpoint, just from a personal interest standpoint. I had a great time, and I'm excited to have a great week. But, you know, no offense, I don't mean to call you out. I won't use your name, but I come on social media, and the first thing I get is a DM saying I don't usually complain about the play calling, but I'm not happy today. Huh? Today's the day, huh? Okay. I guess it's not about what works, it's what feels good or something. I don't know. Not playing to win, you're playing not to lose. Yeah, I got bad news for you, genius. It's the same thing, okay? It's literally the same thing. With the exception of ties, which doesn't apply to this game, we're talking about the exact same thing. If we don't lose today, that means we won. I just had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry. For those of you that are excited and were like, yeah, I can't wait to hear Pack Daddy talk about happy things. I'm sorry. I was shocked and stunned and appalled by my fellow Packer fans for how they freaking conduct themselves after a massive win over a division rival. Everybody wants to piss and moan about the way we did it. Oh, I understand if it's a 2-point win against a garbage team or something, and you're like, you know, that's just not good enough. It's like, yeah, I know, but just celebrate it. You finally got your dominant win, and you're still going to whine? I'm done. I'm done listening to you, because I don't believe you anymore. You just want to be negative, and I'm done pretending that it's anything else. Anywho, we're going to take a break. We're going to go through the stats. We're going to have a good time. We'll do game balls. We'll see what else is out there. But now that that's off my chest, it's all good until we get to Packernet After Dark after this, which I hope is not going to be as negative as I'm worried that it's going to be. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, let's go through some of the stats here. First of all, J.J. McCarthy was 12 of 19 for 87 yards, 4.6 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 34.2 passer rating when targeted. He was sacked 5 times. Jordan Love was 14 of 21, 139 yards, 6.6 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked once, 85.2 passer rating. Did I say when targeted? I didn't mean to say that for JJ. You know what I mean. Vikings run game was seemingly pretty successful for the most part, but again, the Packers tended to show up when it mattered, and also by the end of it, they were so far out of it that, not to mention so completely unsuccessful in the pass game that it set the run game back. But Aaron Jones, 4.6 yards per carry, Jordan Mason, 5.2, and McCarthy was even at 5. As for the Packers, Emmanuel Wilson, 28 carries, 107 yards, 3.8 per attempt, and 2 touchdowns. Jordan Love had 3 carries, 15 yards, 5 yards per attempt. Chris Brooks, 21 yards, 8 attempts, 2.6 yards per attempt. Malik Willis, 2 carries, 3 attempts, 1.5 yards per attempt. In the receiving game, Emmanuel Wilson, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 18 yards. Watson, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 49 yards. He is rapidly becoming our top receiver. We'll see how long that continues. Hopefully for a very long time. Dontavian Wicks, 4 targets, 2 receptions. I thought he had a fantastic day until that one ridiculous drop, although I think it was tipped. There were like a bunch of guys in the area. It was a very high-risk throw. But 32 yards on those 2 receptions. Romeo Doubs, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 23 yards. Brooks, 1 target, 1 reception, 5. John Fitzpatrick, 1 target, 1 reception, 11. Very solid, strong run. It's funny because after he caught it, you couldn't quite tell who it was. And he started bowling over people, and my son started yelling, "Go, Musgrave!" And I'm like, bro, there's no way that's Musgrave. Musgrave is not bowling over 2 defenders to dive for a first down or whatever. Speaking of Musgrave, 2 targets, 1 reception, 7 yards, and Josh Wiley, 1 target, 1 reception, 1 yard. Defensively, our leading tackler was Isaiah McDuffie with 9 tackles, 5 of them solo. Sacks, we had McDuffie had a half a sack, Warren Brinson had a half a sack, those 2 shared, and then Parsons and Wyatt each had 2 sacks. Heck of a day. Additional tackles for a loss. Evan Williams had a great play again in the backfield. Colby Wooden had one, as well as Kingsley and Igbare. No forced fumbles, but 2 interceptions, one by Evan Williams, who had a pretty good day, and one by Isaiah McDuffie, which, by the way, is one of the best interception catches I've seen, at least from a Packer, in I don't know how long, especially coming off a day when we dropped everything. To make that catch is pretty wild. And then additional pass deflections. It looks like 1 for Rashawn Gary and 1 for Javon Bullard, which, I mean, that pass deflection by Javon Bullard, I'm guessing is the one where the ball was thrown at his elbow. I could be wrong. Maybe there was another one. Kick return. Savion Williams, 2 kick returns for 46 yards. 25 was his longest. Romeo, 2 punt returns for 21 yards. 10.5 average. 16 was his longest. Guy still makes me super uncomfortable as a punt returner, and I would like to say I'd like him to never do that again, but one of his punt returns was decent, so I guess we'll leave it alone. But yeah, he makes me so nervous. First of all, he just stands there after he catches it, and then he starts doing that thing where he runs with the ball in one hand just flailing. By the way, this is a very good point to add on to what I was talking about, and we'll go through more stats and whatnot, but as I'm scrolling, I happen to see this. Not only have the Packers done justice to the complaints from last year about the NFC North. That is to say, not only are they 2-0, but they are 2-0 against the NFC North with a combined score of 50-19. Let me say that again, 50-19, dominating the NFC North so far. Obviously got to keep that up. We got another one coming up real quick, and then another one after that, and another one after that, and on and on and on. But they are doing exactly what needs to happen. Daniel Whelan, by the way, had a phenomenal day. 4 punts, 190 yards, 47.5 average. 3 of those 4 were down inside of the 20. And then obviously you can't 100%. It was more of a Zane Anderson play than anything, but I'll give the punter a little bit of credit here. One of those ended up being a massive turnover that ended I think it turned a 3 and out into a touchdown. McManus also perfect on the day, 3 for 3 for his field goals, 2 for 2 on his extra points. Going over the team stats here, Packers dominated time of possession. I wonder how they did that. 37 minutes to 22 minutes. Well, 23-ish. More than 37 to less than 23. Packers ran 65 plays compared to the Vikings 45. The Packers gained 288 yards compared to the Vikings 145. The Packers gained 4.4 yards per play to the Vikings 3.3. Each team had 2 penalties. I didn't even realize there were no penalties in this game. Can we just have this crew for the rest of the year, please? Packers 2 penalties for 10 total yards. That has got to be... And again, I feel like there's a lot of things that we've been begging for a long time, and not everything is fixed. I still am not thrilled with the offensive line, although there were some things to be excited about. Still not thrilled. I feel like Jordan had no time to throw again. And yeah, about half of the run plays were fantastic. Half of them were dude getting hit in the backfield because we can't pick up simple freaking blocks, right? But there's a lot of complaint, and that's somewhat of an annoyance as well when we say, oh man, I'm really upset about X, Y, and Z. And then they fix X, and you're like, yeah, but what about Y and Z? And then they fix X and Y, and then you're like, yeah, but what about Z? Yeah, but what about X and Y that are fixed now? Like, can we at least acknowledge that a little bit? We just ignore it and just, yeah, but what about that? You're just being a homer, dude. You're just being a homer talking about all the good stuff. Bro, you're just ignoring it. Like, I mean, there are some positives here. I would say it's 95% positive, and I'm a homer for not, like, obsessing about the 5%. And by the way, the biggest negative, quote unquote, in this game is not even a negative. It's just a thing that you don't like for no reason. Touchdowns, 2-0. Field goals, both teams 100%. Turnovers, 0 for the Packers, 3 for the Vikings. Completion percentage, Packers 68.2%, Vikings 63.2%. Pass yards 142 to 52. Passing yards per attempt 6.5 compared to 2.7. Sack percentage, Jordan Love 4.3%. J.J. McCarthy was sacked 21% of his dropbacks. Yards lost on sacks, the Packers 4, the Vikings 35. Rushing attempts, Packers 42, Vikings 20. Total rushing yards 146 to 93. Yards per attempt 3.5 to 4.6. Rushing touchdowns 2-0. First downs, Packers 22, Vikings 10. Third down conversions, 50% for the Packers, 22%, 2 of 9 for the Vikings. Fourth downs, the only attempt was not converted by the Vikings. That was a huge stop. Red zone, the Vikings were 0 for 1. The Packers were 2 for 4, 50%. Some other PFF stats here. Plays per drive, 6.7 compared to 5.3 in favor of the Packers. Yards per drive, 24 compared to 14. Points per drive, Packers had 1.9, Vikings had 0.6. Possessions inside the red zone, Vikings 1, Packers 4. Red zone scoring, Packers are 100%, Vikings 0%. That's no winning formula there, folks. Yards before and after contact, the Vikings had 1.3 yards before contact, Packers 0.3. Again, that's offensive line. That's what that is. Packers players were basically hit immediately after touching the ball. Vikings were given 1.5 yards before they were touched. You could argue this is offensive line, defensive line commentary. Yards after contact, Vikings 3.4, Packers 3. Still advantage Vikings, but you see it's much closer when you look at just the performance of the running backs as opposed to when you add in the performance of the offensive line. That's essentially what makes the difference on a per carry basis. Myles Garrett's a freak, dude. He's so freaking good. Shedur's looking a little better today, too, I think. I've only been catching little blips here and there, but I haven't seen him look bad yet. Passes look accurate. Explosive plays. Packers 6, Vikings 3. I'm surprised there was one for either team. I don't remember. I don't recall. Oh, those, and these are just runs. Explosive runs. 10 carries or more. Packers 6, Vikings 3. Yards on explosive runs. Packers 67, Vikings 45. Again, looking at the Packers' average is kind of misleading because it's, half of them were nothing and half of them were pretty big runs. TFLs, both teams had yards on TFLs -4. Both teams had 3 tackles for a loss. Missed tackles forced on run plays. Vikings 3, Packers 8. Fantastic job, man. Switching over to passing, looking at adjusted completion percentage. Vikings 72%, Packers 75%. Oh, and look at Dallas coming back. Just keep glancing up and noticing things. I swear it was like 21-0, and now it's 21-21. Maybe it was 21-7. I don't know, but they were getting blown out. Well, good for Dallas. There's no way they're going to win because nothing I want is happening today aside from the Packers, which I will be fine with, by the way. I'm not trying to tempt fate here. Dropped passes. 1 by the Minnesota Vikings. And again, they're not counting the Wicks drop, and I think that that's a fair assessment because that ball was tipped right before it got to him. So I will say good job by the Green Bay Packers for dropping nothing. Not a lot of targets, but still. And by the way, that Christian Watson catch, holy crap. That was an unbelievable, I mean, you talk about a fingertip catch. That was a fingertip catch. And it really looked like he didn't catch it, and I saw some people afterwards saying, like, that definitely wasn't a catch. Oh, it was. It wasn't even a bobble because he held it strong in his one hand the entire time. I think his right hand or whatever came off of it. Myles Garrett is 5 sacks away from the all-time record with 6 games left. Good Lord. What a waste to have him as a Brown. Anywho, hit as thrown. Vikings 1, Packers 0. Crazy. Missed tackles forced on passing plays. Vikings 4, Packers just 1. Not quite as elusive on that side of the ball, I guess. Average depth of target, 5.7 for the Vikings, 8.1 for the Packers. Air yards, this is just removing yards after the catch. Packers 83, Vikings 59. That leaves after the catch with Packers 63, Vikings 28. Average yak per completion, Vikings 2.3, Packers 4.2. It's not bad, I guess. I think. I don't know. I don't really track these things as much, so I don't know what good or bad numbers are. Explosive passing plays, that's 15 plus. Both teams had 2. Yards on explosive passing plays, Packers 36, Vikings 34. Deep completions, 20 plus. 0 for both teams. That's what I was looking for. Each team had just 1 attempt over 20 yards. Neither of them were completed. Obviously, that means 0 yards. Pressures allowed, Packers 14, Vikings 16. Those are high numbers considering how few attempts there were on both sides of the ball. I'll have to see what the percentages come down to, but that's my initial assessment of that situation. Especially for the Packers. We threw the ball never, and he was pressured every time, and that's ridiculous. However, again, sacks 5-1. Hits allowed, 2 for the Vikings, just 1 for the Packers. Unblocked pressures, 3 for Green Bay, 2 for the Vikings. We got to stop that crap, man. Hurries, 8 for the Vikings, 7 for the Packers. And then we got the initial PFF grades, some pretty exciting things, at least the first one is, because that's all I can see so far. Highest graded offensive player. Remember, they do top 5 offense and defense for both teams. As of right now, subject to change, highest graded offensive player, Christian Watson with an 81.9. That guy's having himself a little bit of a breakout. I say that because, I mean, if you look at his grades, he's always been good. I think he's on track to be significantly better. This is 2 weeks in a row. He's graded out really well. This is 2 weeks in a row where he's looked like just a completely different animal. And even in a game where we barely threw the ball, he very much stood out. I mean, I would assume he's the kind of guy who gets maybe like 2 catches in a game, and that's when we throw it a ton. He had, 5 in a game where we threw it like 17 times? And he was the highest graded offensive player on both sides of the... I mean, yeah, he's... We'll see, but I'm feeling good about this fellow. After that is Jordan Mason of the Vikings, then Brian O'Neill of the Vikings, then Ryan Kelly of the Vikings, then Justin Jefferson of the Vikings. Okay, so that sucks. I didn't expect our offensive line to grade out well, and of course, again, they had their offensive line back healthy for the first time all year, and it looks like they played very well. But these aren't really elite grades or anything. Highest graded defensive players. Isaiah McDuffie with an 88 grade, then Blake Cashman, then Javon Hargrave, then Xavier McKinney with a 75.2, and then, actually kind of interesting, rookie Warren Brinson. They don't even have a picture for the guy. The only reason I'm surprised by that is it's funny because I only noticed him one time, and it was when he missed a tackle, and it was infuriating because I think they went on to go do something, and I was just not happy with Warren Brinson. But then, when I saw one of the sacks again, I think it was the McDuffie sack, I noticed, there's 91 there. And it sticks out because every time I see him, I think Preston Smith. But I was like, that's cool. I didn't even realize he got that sack. That's actually pretty impressive. So I guess that kind of makes up for it. Now I see, again, 75 is not necessarily elite, but 5th highest graded defensive player on both teams, rookie Warren Brinson. That'll be fun to kind of take a look at. It says he had 21 snaps in the game. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how he's doing recently. I haven't really been keeping tabs on that fella. But we'll do more PFF stuff tomorrow. Again, I just wanted to kind of rip through what they had as their initial thoughts. All right, let's take a final break. We'll be right back. Just a handful of things that I scraped together here that I haven't mentioned yet. Again, Packers 7-3-1. They are now ranked 6th in the NFC standings after Week 12. Do not take that for granted. Don't sit here and say, why aren't you first? There are 32 teams, okay? That's 16 in the NFC. 6th is pretty good. Of course, you want to continue to get better, but that's pretty solid. That's better than 16th or 15th or 14th or 13th or 12th, which, again, those are real possibilities, and some teams are enduring that. One of them is the team that we just beat that pretty much their playoff hopes are completely dashed now. The win snapped a 2-game home losing streak for the Packers. Vikings dropped to 4-7. Vikings fell for the 5th time in their past 6 games. This is a start of a 3-game stretch for the Packers against divisional opponents. Score was 10-6 at halftime. Packers outscored the Vikings 13-0 in the second half. Attendance was 77,221 loyal patrons. Emmanuel Wilson got his career high in the 107 yards and 2 touchdowns, obviously. Packers scored on their opening drive of the game with a 70-yard drive. This was the 3rd time this season and the first since their 40-40 tie with Dallas. Again, these are good things. These are things of note in terms of progress that we should be happy about. As for the 3 turnovers, it was the first time this season the Packers had multiple takeaways in a game. Parsons' 2 sacks take him to 10 already. It's not quite Myles Garrett numbers, but for Packers pass rushers to be at double digits, period, is a great year. Being at double digits with lots of time left in the season, that's a different animal. You know what I mean? Especially considering there's been questions about where did he go? He disappeared. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess he's a giant disappointment or something. I don't know. Wyatt with his 2 sacks today, both of them coming inside the 5-yard line, which is hilarious. McDuffie not only had that interception, he also stuffed a tight end sneak on 3rd and 1 in the second quarter, probably contributing to his really high grade. Kingsley Enagbare was one of the guys that had the stop on Aaron Jones on the 4th and 1. Critical play for us, and really kind of that felt to me like the tide turned in our favor and it just never turned back. Evan Williams got his 2nd interception in 2 weeks and 3rd of the season. He leads the team in interceptions. He is having a fantastic second year. Somewhat of an interesting storyline. Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton rotated at left guard throughout the game. That may be a misprint because I think it's right guard. Either way, Belton is kind of encroaching on that, which I've been saying for a long time. Like, can we try the guy at guard for crying out loud? Doesn't mean he's going to be good. I'm just saying, can we try it? We'll see how he did. We heard from the offensive line coach that Belton was going to start taking snaps at guard. So we'll see what this becomes, if anything. Belton entered the game at right guard for the second offensive series, rotated in the first half, and took the right guard job outright for the entire second half. I didn't know that. That's pretty big. Hopefully that means he was doing a good job. You know what I mean? That would be fantastic if we learned that. We did lose Packers cornerback Keyshawn Nixon. He had a stinger day-to-day. I think if it wasn't a short week, you'd feel a lot better about Keyshawn being okay from this. I don't usually think of stingers as being long-term things, but, day-to-day with a quick turnaround, we'll have to see how that goes. To my knowledge, there weren't any other injuries. An additional note on the whole conservative play calling thing. In the press conference, he admitted that it's difficult for him to not want to air it out and push the ball down the field, which, by the way, shouldn't be surprising. This whole thing that he just wants to run all the time. No, he doesn't. He's always been very aggressive and wanting to push the ball down the field. But wanting to do it and feeling that it's the right thing to do in a given situation are two different things. He said it was difficult for him to take the air out of the ball, but he thought it was the best thing to do for the football team given the defensive performance. So he made an adjustment to do what was best for the team, and again, it worked. I didn't ask for this, but for some reason Google put together an analogy here, and I think it's apt for what we're talking about. The Packers' offensive strategy in this game was like a chess player who is already up several pieces and facing an opponent who is prone to impulsive, self-destructive moves. Instead of launching a risky queen attack, the player chose to repeatedly advance the pawn and simply wait for the opponent to inevitably make a fatal error, knowing their own defense can easily defend any desperate counterattack. That's exactly what happened. It is the right thing to do. It was the intelligent thing to do. It shows Matt LaFleur's intelligence. It shows the ability to do the right thing at the right time, in the right situation. This is one of the most intelligent, thought out, well executed from top to bottom, from the coaches to the players across the board. It showed the Packers being the better team from top to bottom, offense, defense, special teams. Matt LaFleur and Jeff Hafley ran circles around the Vikings, not just their players, but their coaches. And to just sit here and say, why do we run so much? I don't know, did you watch the game? How about that for a reason? The thing that you watched is the reason. Frickin' crying out loud. All right, wait.
Someone is at the front door.
Okay, important announcement. All right, game balls. Starting at the top, Christian Watson. We didn't have a lot of passing game going on, but when we did, Watson was the pass game. He was the whole thing. And to make the case even more so, not only did he take a massive percentage of the plays, but some of those catches, like the fingertip one, I think he had a sliding catch at another point. These are high difficulty throws and catches that he's been making all year. He is big, he is fast, he is physical, and he's catching everything thrown at him. I mean, he is playing like a premier player right now. Game ball. Man, I'm tempted to do some stuff with the offensive line, even though I'm disappointed in it, but I just don't know exactly who did what. I'd like to credit Belton for his promotion, but he might have had a terrible game. I'm also tempted to give Kennard a game ball because he came in as our 6th offensive lineman. It doesn't mean he even played well, but I thought that was funny and kind of awesome. No game ball, but, we'll see. Maybe tomorrow we'll be doing game balls for the offensive line. I'm not going to give it to Jordan Love, not because he did anything really wrong. I think there were a couple errant throws that were a little uncharacteristic, but overall I thought he had a good day. But it was obviously more of a just don't screw this up, please, kind of a thing we were asking of our quarterback in this game. Emmanuel Wilson, 1,000% game ball. Some of those, not only is it congrats on having your biggest game, your best game, you're getting the score. It just, leaving that aside, some of these runs were shockingly impressive. The physicality, but also just the vision and the intelligence. The plays where he's pressing the offensive line to draw in the linebackers and then bouncing it outside. Just really impressive stuff. He's always been a good running back. He always has. And I'm not going to pretend to be the only one that noticed that. I think the entire fan base has always been really high on Emmanuel Wilson. There's always a little skepticism when it's an undrafted free agent that looks good in the offseason. He had a good preseason. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean it's going to translate. He's never played a down of football where I thought, yeah, that's kind of what I thought from an undrafted free agent. He's had some games better than others, but he's always just been a very good running back. And he continues to be that. And I think he's just completely, massively underrated. Again, not by the fan base, probably by the team a little bit. It seems like anytime he gets a big... And I understand because Josh Jacobs is there, but whenever he gets an opportunity, it's because he's forced into that. Even now, as the number 2 running back, is just because the guy we drafted is hurt. It's the only reason he's even being given the number 2 spot. But, game ball, great job. Defensively, Devontae Wyatt, you can't have a 2-sack day and not get a game ball. Nearly 2 safeties on the day. I think anything that happened on that defensive line was probably a byproduct of what Micah Parsons was doing. I know at least one of those sacks, if not both of them, were the quarterback running into Wyatt's arms and him playing cleanup. But still, fantastic job. He's a menace on the inside. We need him on that defensive line. That's obvious. Brinson, good job on that one play. Brooks and Wooden occasionally are in there doing stuff. I think I might have even seen Stackhouse, at one point making a big stop. I think it might have even been the 4th down play. I remember seeing big 93 in there. But Wyatt is that dude on the inside for us. He had a really good day. Game ball. In addition, I wish I could say Van Ness. I think I only saw him on the field once or twice. Obviously, they were kind of easing him back into it. He didn't really get to play a ton. But Micah Parsons, give the man 2 game balls. I mean, apparently PFF did not give him his 90-some-odd grade this week, unless things change. But the statistics have got to be fantastic, especially by the end of the game. I mean, he started smelling blood in the water, and you knew it was just game over. He got that first sack, and every play, it just looked like he was playing faster. He was playing more violent. I saw him at least twice where he's lined up in the middle and he's running full speed and just explodes the offensive line. And he's being triple teamed and he's still pushing past him. He just looked like he went psychotic. And we needed Psycho Parsons back. I feel like Parsons has been good for a long time, but that sort of Psycho Parsons mode where it's like, this guy is scaring me a little bit. I'm on the other side of the television and he's scaring me. We're on the same team technically, and I'm in a different city. And I'm behind the television in a house with a closed and soon-to-be locked door. And I'm still scared of Micah Parsons right now. Terrifying human being. And it's in moments like that where you recognize how big and how important he is. He is a game wrecker. He is that guy that can come through and make these clutch plays, even if it just happens once in a game. That is the benefit of going out and getting a guy like that. And, it maybe doesn't seem... I mean, obviously he stood out in this game, but, if you think forward, it's not about securing a 17-point lead over the Vikings. It's about when we're in crunch time in the postseason and the other team is driving down the field to get the game-winning score, and you need a guy to come out and make a play. That's your guy. Got to have a guy like that. Well, I guess you don't have to, but boy, does it help. And hopefully it helps. Also want to give a game ball to Mr. Kamal Hadden. It's always tough to come in a spot like that with Keyshawn Nixon being down. Kind of punching above your weight a little bit, obviously. Maybe that's a little unfair, but let's be honest. I mean, it's a tough spot. And Matt LaFleur had some incredibly glowing praise for Hadden, which, there's coach speak, and then there's sometimes where they lay it on so thick that it's not coach speak. It's just what it is. And he essentially was talking about how, nobody has made strides more than Kamal Hadden has. So, I don't know how many opportunities he's going to get, but that feels good to know that he's there. It's great to know that he's improving and can help the team and did help the team. So I'll give him a little honorary game ball. Evan Williams, obviously getting a game ball. He has been an incredible player for us. Steady, solid. I mean, and on one hand, he's like McKinney in that he doesn't have to really stand out. You just know you can trust him. You can trust him. He's out there just doing his job. He's a guy that's, speaking in PFF terms, he's a 70. He's a 68, 70. He's just solid, not even average, above average to good. Most importantly, though, he's not just making mistakes and causing problems for you. But beyond that, he's actually making plays. And more as time goes on, like we talked about with the stat, where he's got 3 interceptions on the season, I think, and 2 of them in the last 3 games. We've also seen, I think, twice in the last 2 weeks with him shooting into the backfield on these run blitzes. I'm assuming they're run blitzes and just making great plays because, it's one thing to get back there. It's another thing to actually seal the deal, and he makes it look easy. So very happy to have Evan Williams. As much as we, at some point, we'll have to do a little bit of a post-mortem on this season and Brian Gutekunst and how we're doing with his draft picks and everything else. This is absolutely a guy in his win column. Of course, a 4th-round pick. Why would you doubt it? Then we got Zane Anderson. Phenomenal special teams play by him. Gets down the field, sees the ball, grabs a Vikings player, basically just drags him and pulls him right into the ball, lets him touch it, and then jumps on the ball. Just an absolutely fantastic special teams play by him. I mean, look, if you're stupid, and I don't know why players do this, they're always crowding. Our guys do it. Everybody does it. You're always crowding the ball. Get away from it. It's like they can't help it. They're football players. Like, I need to be around the ball all the time. Run away as far as you possibly can. Run out of the stadium. I don't care. But in this case, they were dumb enough to crowd the ball, and Zane made them pay. Crucial play. Huge play. Again, big swing. I mean, I think that was to start the half because we got the ball, and it's like, man, we're going to start it off. I don't know if it was a 3 and out or what it was, but either way, we start the half by doing nothing and having to punt, and it's like, man, you get all excited about, ooh, and we get the ball at half, and you get the ball at half, and you just do nothing with it. And then you got Zane coming through like that, and we end up getting a touchdown off it. It was huge. Lastly, game balls for everybody else on special teams. Whelan Whalen, phenomenal job punting. Brandon McManus, automatic, didn't miss a thing. And I'll throw Orzic in there too. We only talk negatively about Orzic, but when it works, in part, it's because of him. So, game balls all around. So, all right, I am going to leave it at that. Tomorrow, again, we'll do a little PFF day as we continue on for our Victory Monday, or into Victory Tuesday. And then we're going to have to pretty quickly just turn gears toward the Detroit Lions because that's coming right up. So, that's what we got coming up. Enjoy it. A tough game on Thursday. I can't promise you we're going to have a Victory Friday, so enjoy what little of a week we got here. I'll talk to you all tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.